a tendency to migrate to a uh, new location for food and for obtaining the food. For this reason, onion bags and some screens are used to harvesting. At the bottom surface of the screen, a box will be constructed where the worms will be collected. The migration method is carried out in two ways. The downward migration method, name itself indicating migration method. The downward migration method is where the worms are phased to move downwards in the organic material, which with the use of sunlight, with the use of light, then they will go through the screen mesh, that screen mesh, and be collected a required a quantity of worms have been achieved. It is a method saving process. One second, here I'm sharing my screen. As I already told you, yesterday we discussed about uh, the anatomical characters of earthworm and earthworm structure and the types of earthworms and what is epigates and endogates and anisic. Uh, this we will discuss in the last um, uh, last discussion. And here we also discussed about vermiculture definition, scope, and importance, and what is vermitechnology. Here again, uh, just migration method, so that it is a time saving process and can be seen in multiple locations. In the upward migration method, the mesh bottom of the box would be replaced by a worm bed. The box will be filled with pet mass and food which attracts the worms, generally coffee grounds and manure from the fresh cattle are used as food for worms, and they will move towards it to be collected in the box. And the last method is mechanical method. After explaining this one, we'll go with vermiculture processing. In the mechanical method, in this method, a mechanical harvester is used to collect the worms. It is a trammel screen, which is called as a rotatory screen, and that is used to separate the materials. It is around a lift long and 4 feet in diameter and has the cylindrical shape. The walls of the cylinder are made up of the screen material with the different sized meshes. The cylinder is powered by an electric motor. The device would be the set of angle at the top of the side of trammel. After that, the castings are the worm beds that are added. When the rotation starts, the castings of the worms will drop through the screen and the worms will move across the trammel device and enter into the wheel burrow. I'll show you all these pictures. Then vermiculture. Here you can see the vermi uh, earthworms. These are, as I already told you, Essenia, Poetada, Poetida, and Edgillus, Eugenia, and some exotic worms like Perionax and excavatus. Yesterday, I have shown all these earthworms pictures, and here vermicomposting is also called as gold from garbage and the queen of compost. Why we called all these means vermicomposting is a method of making the compost with the use of earthworms, which generally live in soil, eat biomass, and excrete it in digested form. This compost is generally called as vermicompost and wormy compost. This method used by the farmers to multiply the earthworms is by making high amounts of organic waste, including the plant materials, cattle dung, in a proportion of 1:1 ratio. The substrate medium has been made around 4 to 50 earthworms. Earthworm species are released into the medium and it is protected from various environmental factors. A regular maintenance is important for the growth of earthworms. The temperature must be should be between like 15 to 25 degrees centigrade. We have to maintain such temperatures for the good health of earthworms, and moisture level should be at 80% to 90%. Within 1 or 2 months, the earthworms can multiply up to 300 times, relying on this process and factors affecting this process, and then they can be harvested. We already yesterday discussed about surface feeders. The same thing now I have discussed with you regarding what is that? The methods of harvesting, manual method with our own hands, and migration method and mechanical method. And what are the materials we require for vermicomposting? Before going to internal, again I want to um, discuss about the past knowledge, yesterday's knowledge, that is epigeeks, surface feeders are important in vermicomposting. The epigeeks such as Eisenia, Poetida, and here you can see, uh, and Edrillus, Eugenia, and exotic worms and perionyx excavatus is a native one being used for vermicomposting in India. And epienesic are feeders on leaf litter and soil at upper layers of soil. This group such as Lampito moriti is indigenous and is native in situ decomposition of organic waste and residues in the soil. Both epigytes and epienasis groups of earthworms are slender, shorter, and length and red. The color of earthworms are red, and this is the vermicomposting of wide range of agricultural waste and can grow at the wide range of temperature varying 0 to 40 degrees centigrade. However, the optimum temperature ranges from 20 to 30 degrees centigrade. Here you can see the earthworms, And the materials consumed by earthworms undergo physical breakdown of gizzard, resulting in particles like 2 micrometer, giving thereby microns, giving by an enhanced surface area for the microbial processing. This finally ground material is exposed to various enzymes such as protease, lipase, amylase, cellulase, and chitinase, mm, that secreted into the lumen by the gut wall and associated microbes. These enzymes break down complex biomolecules into simple compounds. Only 5 to 10% of ingested material is absorbed into the tissues of worms for their growth, and rest is excreted as cast material, and mucus secretions of gut wall add to the structural ability of vermicompost. Here, vermicompost preparation. What are the basic raw materials we need is any organic material like crop residues, vegetable waste, cattle dung, dried leaves, and waste from agro industries, and a suitable container shed. And like a generator, like a paddy husk, leaf fall, and rice straw, wheat, so and so, so forth. And here the starter is, as I already told you, cow dung, biogas gas slurry, urine of cattle. These are the starters. Basic materials are the any organic material, and earthworms, the species like Isenia foetida, and attached to roof. There you can see in this structures, in these figures, first, second, and third one. This is attached roof. This is also called as vermiculture. Here you can see. And also we need a suitable containers. And here you can see the presence of pits. So pits also we need. And for better growth, we have to supply the water. So water supply should be there. And obviously, the hero of this vermi preparation is earthworms. Here the species is Isenia poetida. And what are the favorable conditions? Before mentioning the favorable, no, first we have to see the favorable conditions of the earthworm in composting material. That is, pH should be like a 6.5 to 7.5, and moisture should be 60 to 70 percentage of the moisture, and below and above range mortality of the worms taking place. Aeration should be there. That should be like a 50% from the total pore space, and temperature should maintain to 18 degrees to 35 degree centigrade. When coming to the preparation of the vermicomposting and procedure, here a container with a suitable dimension is chosen, and warm bed made at the pit of the container. This warm bed consisting of old paper, sugar cane trash, paddy husk, and coir waste. A thin layer of soil is spread over this mixture, and the humidity is maintained at 40 to 50%, 40 to 45 percentage. For the preparation of this pit, it almost prepared in either pit or head heap method. The vermicomposting is prepared either the method like a pit or heap method. The dimensions either heap or pit are 10 into 4 into 2. The length and width can be increased or decreased depending upon the availability of the material, but not the depth, because the earthworm's activity is confined to 2 feet depth only. That's what we have to maintain the depth. Just we have to stick with the depth of the um, pit, that is 2. First of all, the select a site which is not under any economic use, that should be shady and there is no water stagnation. It is a major mm, point to take in consideration. The site should be near to a water source but not to be water stagnation. So the first layer of bedding material is one thick with soft leaves and second layer with nine thick with organic residue, the layer finely chaffed material, and the third layer with dung and water, equal mixture of the second layer. And a organic waste slurry from the biogas plant and cattle dung is spread over the bed and it is kept for half digestion for a period of 2 weeks. During this time, the temperature of the bed will raise up to 50 to 55 degrees centigrade because of the biological activities. A 5 to 10% of neem cake is added to the eliminate of elimination of harmful microorganisms. After the temperature is cooled, to 30 degrees, the earthworms are introduced around 500 earthworms are introduced for the 1000 kg of organic material and the after the third layer, the continue the layer up to pile to ground level of in the case of pit method up to 2 in heap and surface bed method. Here we have to protect um, all these procedure from the worms against the natural enemies like ants, lizards, snakes, frogs, toads, etc. and maintain the moisture and temperature by turning and subsequent stacking. And at the 24th day, we have to introduce 4,000 worms into the pit. That is about 1 milli square, 2,000 worms without disturbing the pit by regular watering. The entire raw material will be turned into the vermicompost in the form of worm excreta, like how it will take place, like the compost will be ready in around uh, 60 days and after it is ready, the worms are separated by spreading the vermicompost on a plastic sheet in a heap under sunlight. As earthworms are sensitive to sunlight, they will move to the bottom of the heap and the top layer of the compost can be removed. So that if I already told you, if we need 100 kgs of vermicompost, we have to employ 500 earthworms. So now here we employed 4,000 earthworms. So here we will get about 1,000 kg of turnover. So the turnover of the compost is 75%. The total material accommodated is a pit is 1,000 kg. The outturn will be 750 kg. So here it is in situ vermicomposting that can be done by direct field applications of vermicomposting at 5,000 per hectare, followed by application of cow dung. Here we will take 2.5 centimeters of, uh, we employ 2.5 centimeters of thick layer of cow dung and then a layer of available farm waste about 15 centimeter thick irrigation should be done at the interval of 15 days. Here you can see the pits, which is with different layers of. This is in situ vermicomposting. Here you can see the harvesting. Here you can see the manure. So what is vermi facts here is vermicompost is a eco-friendly, ecologically friendly, and it can help in reducing landfill. And the warm liquid at the bottom of the warm bin is great for the growth of garden plants. It is also known as warm tea. And warm casting can improve soil fertility by enriching it with nutrients. Worms have no eyes, no ears, and it has 5 hearts. We already discussed about that. And they breathe through through their skin. And when coming to the significance of the vermicompost, before discussing about the significance of the vermicompost, first we have to discuss about precautions. Here, don't cover the vermicompost beds with the plastic sheets because it may trap heat and gases. And do not overload the vermicompost heap to avoid high temperature that adversely affect their population. Dry conditions kill the worm, and water logging drive them away. So watering should be done daily in summer and every third day in rainy and winter season. We always have to check the water uh, percentage and humidity and the moist conditions of the beds. That's what we already discussed about how when preparation of the beds only we discussed about the beds should be near to water area, not to water logging. So that dry conditions always kills the worm. If water logging drive them away, so that water should be done daily, especially in the summer, and every third day in rainy and winter season. Additionally, high quantities of acid rich substances such as tomatoes, citrus waste should be avoided, and make a dry because if we will take such substances like tomato citrus waste that increase the acidity of the vermicompost, then the pH range is exceeded or decreased, so that we should not take the high quantities of acid rich substances. Avoid to take high quantities of acid rich substances, tomatoes and citrus fruits like oranges, anything, and make a drainage channel around the heap to avoid stagnation of water, particularly in high rainfall areas in rainy season. Organic materials used for the composting should be free from non-degradable materials such as stones, glass pieces, plastics, ceramic tubes, and bulbs. And the other precaution is the important natural enemy of vermiculture are ants, termites, centipedes, rats, pigs, birds, snakes, and frogs. We already discussed about that. So that we have to, it is very important to uh, take care to avoid such type of enemies to our vermiculture, and preventive measurements including treating of site with 4% neem-based insecticide before filling the heap. We already discussed about this point during the preparation of the beds only. We have to employ the uh, neem cake to avoiding all these insecticide like infection. And transportation of live worms. Live worms can be packed with moist free substrate in a container, whether it is cardboard or plastic, any material it is, with provision of aeration. A feed substrate quantity should be roughly 0.5 to 1.5 grams individual for 24 hours of transportation journey. And the culture should contain in cocoon juveniles. Juveniles means actively live, and adults, because sometimes adults do not acclimatize to new environment, and that may even die. Under such circumstances, cocoons are helpful for a population buildup of earthworms. Yesterday we discussed about cocoons also during the reproduction. I have explained about male reproductive organs and female reproductive organs. As a part of that, I have explained you about the life cycle of earthworm. So that during the cocoon stage, uh, under like if the cocoon, if the adults do not acclimatize into the environment, so that under such conditions, cocoons are helpful for population buildup of the earthworms. And application rate, how much we have to apply for the field crops. It can be applied in any crop at any stage, even at home garden also, even at simple gardens, kitchen garden also, we can apply this vermiculture. But it would be more beneficial if it is mixed with soil after broadcasting. The rate of application is for field crops 5 to 6 per the hectare, and vegetables 10 to 12, and for flowering points 10 to 200 grams per square feet, and for fruit trees 5 to 10 kg tree per a tree. Per a tree you have to take 5 to 10%, 10 kgs of vermicompost. Then equal volumes of soil you should mixed with. Then you have to apply for the fruit trees. Per tree 5 to 10 kg. And the significance of the vermiculture and vermicompost. Vermiculture is the culture of earthworms. It is a beneficial way of improving the fertility of the soil, and the vermicompost is a rich source of nutrients, vitamins, enzymes, antibiotics, and growth hormones. A nutrient content of vermicompost is higher than traditional compost, and vermicompost harbors a certain microbial populations that help in nitrogen fixation and phosphate solubilization. It its application enhances nodulation in legumes and symbiotic mycorrhizal association with the roots. It can be used as a rooting medium and for establishment of saplings in nurseries. It has the enzymes like protease, lipase, amylase, cellulase, and chitinase, which keep on their function of biodegradation of agricultural residues in the soil, so that further a microbial attack is speeded up. It does not have foul odor, especially this is the main point. People used to think like anyways, we are making the manure with the mechanism of decomposition. If something will be decomposed, definitely the foul odor will come. But uh, the beauty of vermiculture here is it does not have the foul odor as it is associated with the manures and the decaying organic waste. And harvesting of the vermicompost from the pit. Before harvesting, we have to stop watering before 1 week of harvest. Sometimes the worms spread across the pit, come in close, and penetrate each other in the form of ball in a 2 or 3 locations. Keep the compost by removing the balls and place them in a bucket, and however under most cases top layer has to be disturbed manually. Earthworms more downward and compost is separated. After collection of compost from the top layers, feed material is again replenished and the composting process is rescheduled. The material is sieved in a 2 sieve, and the material passed through the sieve is called vermicompost, which is stored in bags. Here you can see the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content in vermicompost, a farmyard manure, and bacterial compost. Here the elements are nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium percentages, vermicompost containing 2.1 to 2.6, whereas farmyard manure 1.1 to 1.5, bacterial compost 1.2 to 1.5, whereas potassium, phosphorus percentage 1.5 to 1.7 range in vermicompost, whereas in farm manure 0.7 to 0.8 percentage, and in bacterial compost 0.7 and 0.2. And when coming to the potassium, uh, 1.4 and 1.4 to 1.6 range in vermicompost, whereas in farmyard manure 0.6 to 0.7. In case of bacterial compost, 0.6 to 0.7. So after comparing the vermicompost and farmyard manure and bacterial compost, yes, obviously vermicompost containing more amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium contents, and the other nutrients presented in this is organic carbon 9.15 to 17.98%, iron 1800 ppm, available sulfur is 128 to 548 ppm, zinc is 50 ppm, copper 100 ppm, calcium and magnesium also 100 ppm. And what are the potentials and constraints for vermiculture in India? When coming to the potentials of vermiculture, the warm and moist climatic conditions of India are favorable for earthworm rapid biodegradation action. In India, an agricultural country, and a large mass of people rely on agriculture, thus vermicompost is a boost. Sorry for the technical glitch. Enormous quantity of here in India, as we know, economically agricultural rich country. Ours is agricultural rich country, and a large mass of people are mainly rely on agriculture, it seems. So that vermicompost is a boost for our India for agriculture. Enormous quantity of agriculture and natural, industrial, and household waste can be converted as vermicompost. So that mostly for vermicomposting, we don't need much amount of budget for starting the vermicompost um, startup, and the country will become clean and green because here we are working on the motto of from waste to gold. So that definitely landfills, mostly cases, landfills, we can avoid the landfills. And this is about the potentials. And here, here I want to mention some points again. Those are earthworms. There are about 3,000 species of earthworms in the world, which are adapted to range of environment in tropical to temperate regions. About 418 species of earthworms present in India. That India harbors about 11.1 percentage of the global earthworm diversity. The Indian earthworm fauna is predominantly exposed of a native species which constitute about 89 percentage of the total earthworm diversity in a country. Around 45 exotic peregrine worms have been introduced into the India. The number of segments from the peristomium to the clitellum and the number of segments which make up the clitellum are species specific in earthworms. So here three ecological categories of earthworms: epigytes, endogytes, and anisics. The anisics and endogytes are known as soil ecosystem engineers, and their impact on soils is great and may influence properties and processes at the ecosystem level. The functional role of epigytes is primarily that of litter transformers, like others litter invertebrates. Here you can see epigytes. Epigite species grind and partially digested surface litter, rarely ingesting soil particles. The soil particles are affected indirectly via changes in the litter. The effect of epigite earthworms are not truly drilospheric. Here you can see the structure. Their mode of litter processing in natural systems results in greater nutrient leaching in the soil. The epigates feed purely on litter and generally have a short gut transit time. They probably depending on the rapid response of gut microbes to aid in digestion. Here you can see what is the drillosphere, the zone of earthworm influence, that is redistributes plant litter. Here you can see the carbon throughout the soil. The profile soils are enriched with nitrogen, phosphorus, and humidified organic material. Increased water infiltration provide a biopore for plant roots, and homogenized soil surface increase biodiversity in soil. And when coming to the endogates are the most prevalent earthworms in the biomass in most tropical environments, often being the only group present, particularly in ecosystems. Endogates are geophagus and earthworms that feed on a subsurface soil horizon and on soil organic material of different qualities. The, they produce surface and below ground gas. Here you can see the structure of earthworm that is belongs to the endogate uh, that live on the top of 12 inches of the soil and they create extensive temporary horizontal channels to move through in upper layers of soil, aerate and mix the soil like a natural rototiller and feed on mineral soil. And endogates um, cast, with generally more clay and more organic matter that undigested soil contain and release a significant amount of the nutrients. Fresh casts of Pontoscolex and Corthrurus may have 2 to 8 times more in inorganic phosphorus and NH4 than undigested soil. This nitrogen may result from a selective ingestion of richer soil portions and microbial mineralization and enteronephridal nitrogen secretions or excretions or a symbiotic nitrogen that is a denitrification is fixation in the gut. The fungal hyphae, active protozoa, algae, and myxomycetes and nematodes may be digested while encysted or protected forms survive gut passage and then rapidly proliferate in the cast. When coming to the NE6, the dominant earthworms in biomass in many temperate regions, that is, temperate region soils, are primarily vertically burrowing species. They feed on surface litter and more or less are permanent refuges in underlying soil horizons. They often produce characteristic surface features called middens, which are circular, mound-shaped region around a surface of burrows opening, which is a mixture of surface organic materials and soil. These are thought to act as a external remains where the microbes and fauna attracted to this hot spot, enhancing decomposition of undigested litter and organic fragments in cast, probably due to fungal colonization of substances. The feeding and casting habits of anesis may deeply influence soil characteristics up to 1 meter depth. The translocation of litter and mucus excretions, air penetration, and soil selection of soil particles that enrich the burrow walls with the organic material and plant available nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and calcium. Finally, the ecological role and economic importance of the earthworms. Here, the earthworms, the microorganisms and the earthworms act symbiotically to accelerate and enhance the decomposition of organic material. And earthworms in general are greatly resistant to many pesticides and concentrate the pesticides and heavy metals in their tissues. They also inhibit the soil-borne pathogens and work as a detoxifying agent for polluted soil. Earthworms can be used for effluent treatment and heavy metal and pesticides removal from the industrial and agricultural waste. Earthworm promotes the growth of beneficial decomposer bacteria in waste biomass. And earthworms are most important soil invertebrate in the soil ecosystem in terms of biomass and activity so that it can be considered as a ecosystem engineer. And earthworms are not essential to have in the soil, but their presence can be a good indicator of good soil quality, so that we can consider the earthworms are the farmers' friends. So if the earthworms are more in the soil, that indicates the soil is in good condition. Earthworms improve the physical structure of the soil, improve water filtration rates and absorption rates, helping the soil to drain better. The tunneling activity of the earthworms also improve soil aeration, porosity, and permeability. The feeding and casting habits of the NSS may deeply influence the soil characteristics up to 1 meter depth. The translocation of the litter mucus excretions in air penetration and selection of soil particles that enrich the burrow walls with the organic matter and plant available nutrients, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and calcium. This is about, again, I want to show you the vermicompost preparation beds. Here the basic raw materials are, as we know, wheat, rice, straw, and leaf, pulp, and paddy husk. And here the starters are the cow dung, biogas slurry, or urine of cattle. Uh, Here the earthworm species are Escherichia foetida. We have to maintain the thatched roof, that is vermicide, to avoid the high sunlight, since earthworms are very sensitive to the sunlight, so that we have to maintain the vermicide roof, and also to avoid the water logging during the rainy season. Here, the favorable conditions of the earthworms is the composting material. pH should range 6.2 to 6.5 to 7.5. Moisture should be 6 to 70% of the moisture. And above the range, mortality of the death of the worms maybe takes place. Aeration should be there, 50% of the aeration from the total pore space, and the temperature should range from 18 degree centigrade to 35 degree centigrade. So that care should be taken during the rainy season and the summer season. Again, I'm discussing you about the dimensions of the heat orbit, about 10 to 10 into 4 into 2. Here the 2 is a depth. So always depth should be like 2 feet only, to avoid the earthworms. Length and width can be increased or decreased depending on the availability of the material, but not the depth, because the earthworms activity is confined to 2 feet depth only. So here we have to take minimum 3 to 4 layers. So after the 24th day only, we have to introduce the earthworms. And the turnover capacity is, if you will employ 75%, the total material accommodating the bit is 1000 kg. The outturn will be 750 kg. Here you can see the bits, and here you can see the packaging of the material. And once the vermicompost is prepared, you can see the look. It is looking like a black gold actually. So it will not produce any foul and bad odor. This is the beauty of vermicompost. Uh, yes, after this stage, our vermicompost is ready to transport anywhere with the help of a fine and careful, after fine and careful packaging. This is about vermicomposting, vermicompost preparation, and maintenance of the beds. And yes, we also discussed about earthworm internal and external structure. Here you can see the diagrammatic illustration of different internal components of the trillosphere from injection of excretion in the earthworms. That is, this picture is adapted from the Brown and et al. 2000 from a research paper. With this, here I'm going to stop my today's class. Thank you all.